guys, welcome back. If we haven't met yet, my name is Tiffany. I'm a Washington realtor who has a love for creating beautiful spaces on a budget. If you follow me, you know that I do the majority of my shopping for home decor items at the Goodwill outlet or the Goodwill Bins. But I've been hearing from you guys that maybe you don't have one in your area, or maybe the one you do have near you is just not that great. So I decided to venture out and go shop some non-Goodwill outlet thrift stores. In the end, I will share what pieces I ended up purchasing. I did come away with some project pieces, so I'll show you what I did with those. I'll show you how I might style some of the items, and as always, I will share exactly how much I spent. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you guys enjoy. So here is the first store I stopped at. They had a ton of pillows. If I were to buy any of these, I would just toss them in the washing machine. These throw pillows were priced between $3 and $5 each. This may come from my experience digging through the bins at the Goodwill outlet. I kept noticing items at this store back behind other items or underneath, so don't forget to check those places when you are at thrift stores. I did find the match to this one, and I looked these up on Amazon, and they sell for about $24. Next, I spotted these curtain panels. I believe there were 4 of them, and they were really nice, heavy curtains. Then I noticed this white curtain panel here. This was nice quality. When I was putting this back, I noticed that the match to it had fallen back behind. This store had a lot of lamps, but what interested me most were these shades right here. The cost of lampshades has gotten a bit out of hand, in my opinion. This one here interested me, but it did have this spot on it. It looked to me like it was probably just a dusty fingerprint, but I wasn't sure. There were 4 of these chairs here, and they were priced at $8 each. I thought these had a lot of potential. They might be cute painted and recovered. This twin headboard here was priced at $15. Does anyone else remember these? This is definitely taking me back a few years. Thrift stores are such a great place to pick up large mirrors. You can save so much by buying secondhand. Things like this are wonderful for adding just a little extra storage to spaces where you need it. I would consider converting this into a shelf or maybe a small desk. This store had a whole section of in-box items. I'm assuming that this was from a return pallet or something like that. This store had a lot of rugs, and this one here caught my eye, but it did have some spots on it. And this was a little too heavy to throw in my washing machine. If you guys have any tips for cleaning rugs like that, I would love to hear from you. These candlestick holders were originally from the Hearth and Hand line. These plates, I just thought they were really unique. I haven't seen anything quite like this, and they were only $1 each. always like to check out the books at thrift stores, and remember, if you're looking for decorative books, to pull off that cover and see what is underneath. This lamp here is kind of a mess, but it was 75% off. Green tags were half off at this store. If we were renovating, I would definitely be picking this up. These chairs are looking a little rough, but they definitely have potential. I always like to check out the baskets, and this one here was half off. I spotted another half off item, and I had an idea for this. These placemats here were 75% off. Once again, I spotted a yellow tag, which means 75% off. Off to the next store. Here I am at a normal Goodwill. This day, green tag items were $1.79. Sometimes I find vintage or retro pieces, and I'm not sure if they would look good in my home or if they would just look dated. This one, I wasn't quite sure. This piece here is very on trend right now in the design world with those handles and that shape, and this was made in Italy. This candle was $13 new, but it was $3 here, so great way to save. Next stop is the Habitat for Humanity, or some refer to it as the Restore. One thing I love about this particular location is they discount their prices incrementally depending on how long the item has been in the store. You may recognize this fixture. I have this hanging in my dining room. If you are doing a renovation or a remodel, I would definitely consider checking out the Restore or the Habitat for Humanity. We found a lot of items here that really helped us cut costs when we were renovating. This is also a great place to look for artwork. Now, this is not exactly my style, but if I were in the market for a large canvas, I would just paint over that. This lamp base here looks like something you would pay a lot for in a high-end store. If you just swap that shade out, you have a very high-end looking lamp. This piece interested me for 4 reasons. It was solid wood, it was very large, it had a lot of potential, and those drawers slid effortlessly, but they were asking $400 for it. These chairs, these were definitely my style. Unfortunately, that one there on the right had some damage on it, and they were asking $25 per chair. I decided to try to rescue this lamp. Like I said, I got it for 75% off of $9. It looked as though somebody had done a DIY on it and it just didn't go very well, so I'm gonna see if I can salvage it. The first thing that I did is put it in a grocery bag and I just start trying to slough off any loose pieces. Next, I removed the harp and I am taping off the top and the cord. What I'm doing here is I am just layering. I actually did not want even coverage. I wanted it to have some depth and dimension and have varying colors. So I did actually get it a little too covered with this, so I went back with the lighter gray to give it a little more variation. I am just working with what I have on hand, and I had this acrylic paint and I am mixing it with baking soda. The goal in this is to give that paint some texture, and I'm just dipping a paper towel in that paint and dabbing it onto the lamp. Last, I am sealing it with a non-yellowing clear coat. Here is a tip for you. If you buy a lamp and it is not working, check this little brass tab inside and make sure it is bent up a little bit so it connects with the bulb. So here is a look back at the before, and here is the after. Next, I found this wood bowl / candle holder. I noticed after I purchased it that it was originally from Pottery Barn, but it did have some damage on it. So I had to decide if I was going to touch up that stain or try something else. If you follow me, you know that I love raw wood, and one of you had actually suggested that I try using oven cleaner to remove the finish, so I decided to give that a try today. I started off with fume free. I sprayed it on and saturated it and let it sit for about 30 minutes. It didn't seem to be doing a whole lot and I was losing daylight. So for time's sake, I decided to step it up and try this heavy duty oven cleaner. Again, I saturated it and let it sit for about 30 minutes. This definitely seemed to start working faster. If you have successfully used this technique, I would love to hear your tips and tricks. Once I had scrubbed that down, I again saturated it, waited another 30 minutes, and then I came back with a wire brush to get a little more aggressive in removing that finish. And I like to use wire brushes when I'm removing a finish off of wood to help deepen that wood grain and add some character. Once I had the bulk of this off, I took it in and washed it off with soap and water. Once dry, I brought it out and went over it with our orbital sander. Once I got to this point, I realized it was a little challenging to sand that part near the ground, so I decided to elevate it by flipping a trash can over and sticking it on top. And last, I am once again going over the bowl with the wire brush to deepen the wood grain. Here's a look back at the before, and here is the finished product. I paid $1.25 for this piece, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I would definitely try this technique again. After the discount, I ended up paying $1.64 for this basket. Now, the inside of it was quite dirty, so I ended up washing this out with soap and water and setting it out to dry. One thing that some people would not have liked is one side was quite faded, but to me, that just gives me options. If I want a light basket, I can turn it to one side. If I want a dark basket, I can turn it to the other. You may recall that marigold scarf that I found for 50 cents. I decided to stage it as a blanket on this blanket ladder. It could also be tossed in a basket if you just wanted a pop of color in a room. With fall approaching, when I spotted these for $1.29, I decided to go ahead and pick them up. They were really nice quality, heavy pieces. These placemats were 75% off, so after discount, I paid a total of $2.25. These were my favorite find. I loved these wrought iron candle holders. I found these at the Restore and I paid $10.50 for the set. I probably wouldn't use these for real candles, but they work great with these flameless options. So if you are interested in checking these out, I will have this linked in the description below, along with any other products or items used in this video. This blanket here was at the normal Goodwill. It was marked at $4.99. Now, I didn't even notice this until I went to go do this video, but it rang up as a sale tag, so I ended up paying $1.79 for this. These here were priced at $3 each. They are something I would consider using for staging a home. What I'm doing here is taking a magnet to see if they stick to this. If they do, that's a good sign that they are plated. These look like they could potentially be solid brass and copper. Lampshades are one thing that I do have a hard time finding in good condition at the Goodwill outlet. So when I found these, I was excited to snag them for $3 each. This was that lampshade that had a fingerprint on it, but it came right off with a dry toothbrush. That is everything that I found at these non-Goodwill outlet stores. Now, before we get to the grand total, if you enjoyed this video, would you do me a big favor and hit that thumbs up button? Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future videos. So here is my grand total for the day. Before tax, I spent $36.46. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week and I will see you next time.